Hey, it's good to see you. I'm Peter from Central. I'm glad that you're here, and I also hope that you're doing well. In this video, I'll be going over 3 newer fragrances from the house of Houbigant, all from 2010 until now, so they're not too old since the house has been around since the 17th century. So do sit back and relax, and let's go on a scent trail together of 3 fragrances from the La Maison Houbigant. The Houbigant story is somewhat of a dream. It begins something like this. In the 17th century, somewhere in the 17th century, a man had a store, and he one day decided to paint some flowers on a basket, on a piece of tin or wood or something, and then hung it outside. And from that moment on, he became famous. All the royals and the nobility wanted to have a piece of his, way of making things smell beautiful. Now, I only wish that it was that easy to start a business. If you have one, if you own one, then you know it's not that easy and it takes quite a bit of work. But it is dreamy nonetheless. And as we've heard from other stories in this industry, you can't always believe what you hear or what you've read. But be that as it may, if you're interested in the timeline, it is much set up like another house, sort of by the year as it goes on. You can go to Houbigant.com and it'll have a little, I believe it's under our story or something like that. And you can go year by year and kind of see who is, used the fragrances and so on and so forth. I think Napoleon was one of the people that actually really adored the house of Houbigant. But what we're going to do here is we're going to jump right into the first fragrance, which is a superstar of the house. The fragrance is Fougère Royale. Fougère Royale was originally created in 1882, and it has been said that this fragrance is solely responsible for revolutionizing the fragrance industry. It created its own entire family of fragrances because of this fragrance, the Fougères. There are also some other fragrance families, and you may know some of them. There is floral, oriental, there's woody, there is amber, there is leather or leathery, and then there's a chypre and fougere. So those are some of the families that the fragrances can fall into. Fougère Royale is in a fougere fragrance family that it created itself. Kind of cool. A fougere fragrance family, or the fougere, usually has notes of lavender, coumarin, and oak moss. I have some fragrances here that are considered fougères that you may know, and some of them are YSL Kouros, we have Azzaro Pour Homme, we have Drakkar Noir by Guy Laroche, we have the original Tabac, not the one from Saharov, the original Tabac, this one right here. And then also another fougere that you may know is Dolce & Gabbana's Pour Homme. And of course, the fragrance that we're looking at today, Fougère Royale, is not going to be one from 1883. This one is sort of revolutionized and modernized by a perfumer called Rodrigo Flores Roux, and he remodeled the fragrance to the more modern liking in 2010. But let's go ahead and look at the bottle first.
The box itself is silver and black, little tag on the front. The engraving on top is actually raised, it's not flush. The glass bottle is the same pattern as the box, with a silver decal on the front and a silver cap. If you look at the bottle itself, it is actually etched into the glass. The glass itself is very heavy, and it's a beautiful detail that has a little bit of fog right through the back as the light shines through it. The cap itself is made out of metal. It fits on there very snug, which is a good thing, and it has a good amount of weight to it. Also, you will notice that Houbigant is etched in the cap on all 4 sides. One thing that is really special about this bottle is that the back side of it has a little bevel on it, which makes the bottle really comfortable. And as you hold it in your hand, it is really going to feel pleasant, like you just want to keep on holding it. It's really super well done.
When I first got this one, I was really excited. I do love some fougere fragrances. Absolutely gorgeous. Let's see what kind of spray we get out of this. Now, initially, since this one is a little bit dated and it's, sort of a reformulation of a fragrance from a while ago, I actually thought that this one was going to be a little bit more tart, or just a little bit stronger or something. But as it comes out of this sprayer, it's actually a little bit more on the softer side. Right at the beginning, what you'll have here is you'll have the, of course, Fougère lavender that comes in right there at the very top, surrounded by a really beautiful dose of chamomile. And that's why it's a little bit more on the softer side. It does have, however, a more of a mature vibe, because the geranium and the carnation in this fragrance are definitely going to give you a little bit more of a mature vibe. The fragrance, however, does have a little bit of sweetness in it. I know that younger people tend to like sweeter fragrances, and it does have a little bit of sweetness in it as it dries down and it goes towards the patchouli and the oak moss. So I guess you could wear it if you're younger, because it is really a wonderful scent. This 2010 remake is a classy fragrance that you could wear today without ever feeling like it's a dated fragrance, even though it has the carnation in it and the geranium. But because of the little sweetness and the chamomile up top mixed with the lavender, it's really quite beautiful, and you don't have to feel like it's a dated fragrance at all. It will stay soft and elegant for around 6 hours on me, with the first 2 hours being pretty intense. And if you like fragrances, then you really should get your nose on Houbigant Fougère Royale for the history alone. It's a beautiful fragrance and you should get your nose on it. The next one we're going to look at is going to be Cologne Intense. Presentation is going to be very similar in Cologne Intense. As you can see right here, the only difference that you're really going to have from the get-go is that the plaque and the cap is going to be gold, where the Fougère Royale was silver. You see? So that's going to be the only difference. It's going to be gold. Yeah, same bottle, same snug design of the cap. The Cologne Intense is created by a perfumer called Luca Maffei in 2015. Let's give it a spray as well. Nice sprayer. Kind of fine little mist, but very powerful and kind of wide. When you first spray Cologne Intense, it is going to be a very different fragrance. It's not light and airy like you would expect after, Fougère Royale, which was very bright and, big Fougère fragrance. Cologne Intense is very different. I wonder how many people actually bought Cologne Intense thinking that it was going to be an intense version of Fougère Royale. It is absolutely not. It smells very, very different. Sicilian lemon and Calabrian bergamot in here, but all of that still doesn't make it bright enough, because the neroli at the very top keeps this one kind of subdued and just a little bit thicker in nature. Also, there is some tarragon in this one, which gives it sort of a little bit of a sweet, herbaceous sort of nuance. And there is a little bit of lavender in there that might remind us just a little bit of the Fougère Royale, but it is a stretch though. In this one, what's going on is there's a note of M-A-T-T-E, mat, or I guess that's how you say it. And I looked it up, and mat is often used, or mat is used to kind of calm down brighter notes. And this is exactly what's happening here. All the notes in here, it seems a little bit like the top of the notes is sort of smoothed out. It's a smooth fragrance, but nothing sort of pops, in an astringent kind of way. It absolutely doesn't. It's more of a round, beveled sort of fragrance. Very smooth, a good bit herbaceous. What I did is I kind of closed my eyes and smelled this, and I kind of said, okay, what does this remind me of when I wear this fragrance? And the first thing that came to mind was Old World Pharmacy. When you walked in, fragrances sort of hit you, and then there was an area where they created teas and stuff where you could refill some tea. And this is kind of what that smells like, sort of like chamomile, really earthy. And everything is kind of subdued by the multitude of smells in this fragrance. It made sense to me in my head anyway. So Cologne Intense is going to be or have the same longevity and projection as Fougère Royale does. They're about on par with each other. Fougère Royale was from 2010, Cologne Intense 2015, and my next one is going to be Bois Mystique, and this one is from 2018. It comes in the same sort of flacon. We're back now to the silver top and the silver label in the front. Everything is still the same. The engraved glass, really beautiful bottle, and the back still curved. That really feels nice in your hand. Let's give it a spray as well. Same sprayer, beautiful. And it's going to be a peppery cardamom note right from the top. Now this one reminded me of a fragrance immediately once I smelled it. There's also going to be more pepper in this fragrance as it starts drying down, mixed with some cypriol oil. There's a gentle iris in here. It is listed, however, it's very difficult for me to pick that one up amongst all the other notes. So it is not an iris fragrance by any means at all, even though it is listed in the note breakdown. Now I know you're like, oh my God, he said it smells like a fragrance. I can't wait to find out which one it is. This one right here, Bois Mystique, really reminds me of a fragrance by the House of Creed. Yes, I said it. It does smell like Royal Oud from Creed. Is it a clone of one another? No, not at all. However, it does have a very big similarity to the fragrance. Now I did a side-by-side comparison, not a video, but for myself on these, and because it does smell very similar. Now the Creed Royal Oud did outpace the Bois Mystique by quite a bit. It lasts much, much longer. It's a more intense scent. This one is a little bit more wearable throughout the days, but they do smell very similar, with the Creed Royal Oud outpacing the Bois Mystique. The Fougère Royale and the Cologne Intense outlasted Bois Mystique as well. So I would have loved for this one to have a little bit more staying power. I believe the same perfumer is behind this one as in Cologne Intense. Was it Luca Maffei? That's who it was. And yeah, I guess my biggest gripe with this one is that it doesn't really last that long. I mean, I got maybe, 5 hours, and it smells really beautiful at the beginning, and then it just kind of like it died down a little bit too fast for me. But it is a really good alternative if you don't want to fork out the money for the Creed Royal Oud. This one is along those lines, and you just have to remember that you have to respray this one a couple times if you want to go through the journey of the notes. It does have quite a bit of development. The Creed Royal Oud is a little bit more on the linear side. This one actually has a lot more going on with the fragrance. So if you can get, yourself a little sprayer and respray it a couple times throughout the day, this is a really lovely fragrance. In that case, it would really be worth it. All of these three that I have are really elegant, and I really enjoy wearing them. And we can definitely say that Houbigant has come a long way in 400 years, or 4 centuries, they say, right? Which ones do you have? Do you have any Houbigants? Are you going to get that new fig fragrance? Fougère? Fig tree, I believe it means, or something like that. Just came out in 2022. I was thinking about going to the store and getting it for you here, but I think when I get it, I'm probably going to do a separate video on it. Who knows? Let me know if you have it and if you like it. Which ones are your favorites in this ones? Are you going to get any of these? Or are you just like, nah, it's not for me. It's more for the older crowd, gentlemanly crowd. Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. If you got anything out of this at all, of course, I need to ask you at some point, I reckon. Yeah, if you want to get more content, I would love to have you on board. So don't forget to subscribe and give it a like if you got anything out of this at all. Until next time, I want you to take good care of yourself. Always smell nice, and I will talk to you soon.